in the world does a bulimic, alcoholic woman end up publishing a book about style and manners?
You guys, I'm here with Laura Martella.
Author Laura Martella is here.
Meet Gentleman Norman and Laura Martella.
And become a leading clean food expert, teaching people to change their lives through the food they eat. My answer?
Still. You see me fly, you know they'll never catch me for it. See me fly, the way I put my finger on it. See me fly, you got it.
It's the power of God's grace.
The wrong guy.
Okay, let's roll. Let's just roll, Wayne. We have no idea how this is going to work, but Norman is right here front and center because this little man turned 10 yesterday. 10 years young, right? For those of you who don't know me, hi, I'm Laura Martella. Welcome to the Laura Martella Show. And this is my little love, Gentleman Norman, and he is my co-author of a book titled How to Be a Man. I will talk about that later in the show, but I just wanted to honor him with his birthday. And if you hear like little gurgles, he's got a collapsed trachea. He's on some medication. I love this man. Who is not madly in love with their dogs? Right, Norman? I'm going to put him over here so I can talk to y'all without being too distracted. Here on this show, we talk about all things health, hope, and gratitude. Professionally, I'm a clean food expert and an accountability coach. And I also talk a lot about my testimony. There's a short film that I produced several years ago titled If You Are Still Breathing. And it is about the struggles and successes that I've had in my life. What I want to let you know is I am creating a group starting next month for accountability and clean food. So get in touch with me on cleanfoodexpert.com. I had some requests to start groups instead of just one-on-one because it makes it more affordable. It makes it more fun. You start relying on each other in this accountability support group. So cleanfoodexpert.com. You can also find me at laura.martella on Instagram. The podcast is on YouTube and Spotify. And my phone is ringing. It'll go to voicemail in a minute. What should I do, Wayne? Just let it ring? Welcome to my home. Welcome to imperfection. That's just what we've got to do. Wayne's going to go tiptoe over and turn it off. We are fully caffeinated. We've had a dance party. We've had a clean breakfast, and we are working with Gentleman Norman today, so bear with us. All right, let's get to it. Today, I want to share my experience on taking the first step with you, and let's talk about if you have this idea, like just maybe you have like just this little vision that keeps appearing in your mind and in your heart. Maybe there's some idea that you want to pursue. Y'all, pay attention to that. I truly believe that those are like nudges from God. And don't let fear stop you. There's a quote that my pastor and I were talking about recently, and I printed it out because I don't want to miss one word. This is from Kenny Grant. Love him. He's going to be on the podcast. Don't let an unknown ending keep you from beginning. Just start. Uncertainty is God's way of inviting us to trust him and join him. Isn't that beautiful? And I know that I have one of Norman's hairs. I know that our head can tell us, well, what if this happens? Well, what if this happens? Trust me, Satan does not want you to listen to God, to listen to your heart, to pursue anything that could possibly be good for you and be walking in God's purpose. He wants to tell you, you can't, it doesn't make sense, it won't work. That's Satan. That is not God. God will say, try this. What if you did this? What if? So I'm going to tell you kind of the story of how I got started in my career and my creative projects. I'm not going into, if you're new here, go watch episode 1. That is the drama and the trauma of it all, which I don't like to repeat on this show, but trust me, I am grateful that I'm alive. I believe in miracles. Miracles come from God. That's why I believe in God. I am a baby Christian. I got saved in 2018, and I am learning how to seek the truth and believe the truth from reading the Bible. So y'all, I am never preaching. I'm just like sharing what I connect with. All right, so here's the thing. I got sober at 35. Prior to sobriety, I had done nothing. And to be honest, my background was rehabs. I mean, I would have been homeless had I not been married. And I am so grateful that that was not my journey. And I know a lot of amazing, successful people that are sober that were homeless. And y'all, God will always bring us through if we just try, if we just start. So 35 years old, I got sober. And thank God, the first 10 years of my sobriety were really dedicated to my parents. My mom had Alzheimer's at the young age of 62, the year I got sober. So the first 10 years, I was really heavily involved with my mom and my dad. I'm an only child, so I was the primary caregiver and facilitator of their care, looking after them. And as someone with no children, that was the greatest honor of my life. And Alzheimer's is one of my causes that I support. All right. After both my mom and my dad passed 10 months apart, which is not uncommon in the Alzheimer's story. My dad passed away before my mother. And this is why I believe in supporting Alzheimer's caregivers and the people with dementia and Alzheimer's. But man, those caregivers, sometimes they go before the actual patient. And that was my case. So I had Norman. This is Gentleman Norman II. My first Norman was 12 years old. And the entire time I had him, I knew deep down I wanted to do something with him because everywhere we went, he was a showstopper. I mean, he made everyone smile, and I know all dogs do that. He was so well behaved, and for a Pomeranian, very calm demeanored and just amazing. And people had said to me, you have got to do something with this dog. But as I told you, as an only child, I was heavily involved with my mother's Alzheimer's. 10 months after they passed, I'm sitting in the lobby of the Fairmont San Francisco. I used to go there 3 or 4 times a year with my husband. I lived in San Diego at the time, and San Francisco was like what East Coast people do when they go to New York, to the big city. We would go to San Francisco, and we'd always stay at the Fairmont. And Norman was like a VIP at the Fairmont, even before he was the author, Norman. But I'm sitting in the lobby, and Norman is doing what Norman does. Everyone coming over to him, talking. It's like he posed for pictures. People wanted their picture with him. And I started looking around the hotel lobby and started thinking, I could set up little vignettes of how Norman behaved so well. And I had joked for years, women, you can maybe relate to this, that Norman was the perfect man because he's genuinely interested in everything I say and do. He smells amazing. He just wants to sit close to me. He actually had great table manners. So I always joked that he was the perfect man. He does anything I want. So I started thinking about these little one-liners of how Norman is a gentleman. I went upstairs to my room immediately, and I wrote down the shot list. I didn't know it was called a shot list at the time. I just wrote down my little one-liners, my little vision of the vignettes that I would style. And I got busy. I'll tell you the very first significant step. Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Laura Martella Show. Here's what I want you to know. Start thinking, it's not new, but let it be our thing. Wellness Wednesday. Every Wednesday morning, the podcast drops. So get ready to watch on Wednesdays. Follow me at laura.martella on Instagram, Laura Martella on Facebook, Laura Martella Show on YouTube, and on Spotify. Thank you so much for your support. Remember to actually subscribe because it will enable me to keep on giving you some good content. The first step I took, or the first step I took was writing it down. I wrote down about 12 one-liners and how I would style the vignettes. The second thing I did is I said it out loud to somebody I really trust. I'm going to do a coffee table book with Norman. I said it. And you all, I felt silly, but I felt convicted at the same time. And just saying that to one person put it out into the universe. This was on, let's see, my mom passed away on February 14th, 2011. This was Labor Day 2011. So that's in September. When I got back to San Diego, I started looking for photographers, and because I knew I've got to see if this really works. Like, I think Norman is really photogenic, but I need to set up some photo shoots and see if this is feasible. Now, in business, that is called proof of concept. Remember, y'all, I just went to rehab. I didn't go to college. I just knew I guess I need a proof of concept, but I didn't call it that. So I had a photo shoot at my house, actually. And I talked to a few photographers, and I decided to do this test shoot with one. I had so much fun. And instantly we saw that Norman can pose. Norman can take cues. And so we were off. So then I had to reach out to the Fairmont San Francisco, which, okay, sitting here today with the sobriety that I have, with the self-confidence that I have, because I have completed many projects, you do not know how intimidated and how silly I sounded or thought I would sound. So I called the general manager and told him I want to produce a coffee table book with my dog in all the ways he's a perfect man. And I would like to do a tie-in with the Fairmont San Francisco with your permission and actually have some photo shoots there. So they had to have meetings about it, think about it. Mind you, I'm not a published author. This is just some lady that comes here with her dog. You know, this is what my head was telling me. So this is the importance of we can't listen to our heads. And a side note, let me tell you this. This is kind of some coaching. You know I'm a coach. Here's the deal. If you don't ask, the answer is always no. You got to get comfortable with hearing no. I'm coaching someone right now who wants to publish a coffee table book. And so as an accountability coach, I give her goals, but she has phone calls to make. She has tasks to complete. And we just have to get comfortable with hearing no. But guess what? I asked and they said yes. All right. So Labor Day, I had the idea. By November, Thanksgiving, I had my first photo shoot in San Francisco. And I had to coordinate with the marketing director, and there were several vignettes. Like one of the one-liners is, you may or may not be at the head of the table, but a gentleman sees the value in everyone on the team. So I had Gentleman Norman sitting at the head of this conference table, and we got the marketing team from the hotel on their lunch break to come in and sit at the conference table. And so there was a lot of logistics and coordinating that needed to go into this photo shoot. And it was fun. It was fun. And we were in the lobby, and one of the things with the first Gentleman Norman, remember, I have Gentleman Norman the second now. He was crazy about bananas, and he knew the word banana, banana. So Norman was sitting on the grand piano in the lobby of the hotel, the photographer, and I was also having it videoed. And these grown men, to get Norman to look at the camera, were going, banana, banana. It was ridiculous, but it was fun. And we just kept getting the shots. All right, so had the first photo shoot. Here's what I want to tell you. I'm going to speed up the story a little bit, but if I would have known what I was getting into, I might have been I would have been too intimidated to start. This is what I want to implore to you. Take the first step, whatever it is that you are wanting to do. It may be that you're wanting to get healthy, okay, and that you need to start working out. You don't need to be some super bodybuilder tomorrow. You just want to do the first step. What's the first step? Go to the gym. Put on those leggings. Get yourself to the gym. Stay there and do something. That's the first step. You may want to or need to get sober. Take the first step. that first step is admitting that you need help. You may want to build your dream home. Take the first step. We think that we've got to have the whole plan. And I know so many personality types that prepare and prepare and prepare, research and research, outline and outline, and they never get started. What I want you to hear me today to say is start. That's the word. Start. Start cooking your meals. Start praying. Start spending time with your spouse if you need to work on your marriage. Just start. Okay? Sorry for being a coach, but that's what I do. Start. All right. So let me fast forward a little bit into this project. And then I can't wait to tell you what happened and what it led to. Came back, had to, the editing process of the photo shoot was tremendous because anybody who's worked with photographers or who is a videographer, I mean, the time consumption is not in the photo shoot. It is in the editing. I also had to work with a graphic artist, and I sat side by side with the graphic artist for months because I should show you the book now. Here it is. Can you see it, Wayne? Is this a good angle? So I styled this shot. I wanted to set Gentleman Norman up as the Ralph Lauren in the canine world. And so the shoes, the little nail heads, the whole thing, my photographer nailed it. But the graphics in this book, like I chose you can't see it on here, but I chose every font, every word, every punctuation. It's 100% me. You don't want to let someone else tell you what your vision is. Hi, everyone. I'm Laura Martella, and I am a clean food expert and an accountability coach. Let me tell you the two things that I feel are missing in all these diet programs. Number one, they're giving you foods that are going to make you hungry, cause inflammation, make you exhausted, and make you fat. They're not talking about eliminating chemicals. Number two, it's not about self-knowledge. I can tell you what to eat. It is about the daily support that you need. You've been eating 3 times a day since the day you were born. It's very hard to change that. I will make sure that you have an eating plan, simple recipes, daily support. I've got your back, and you are going to learn how to live and eat and create a sustainable lifestyle change. The editing process after the first photo shoot and then working with the graphic artist, I knew I had to hire a graphic artist, and it's my first experience of working with a graphic artist. Let me tell you, this was in 2011. Do any of you remember Boo, the little Pomeranian that was trademarked as the world's cutest dog? He had a little gift book, and just the graphics, it was just cute little pictures of Boo. I don't know how I knew, but I instinctively knew if I'm going to do this, I need to be the exact opposite of Boo, which is why Norman's tagline is, I don't do cutesy. And I wanted Gentleman Norman to be positioned as someone with a message. The message in the book titled How to Be a Man is truly common courtesies and kindness. If Norman would have been a female, then it would have been How to Be a Lady. But it's practical advice for men and women on how to behave. Sitting side by side with that graphic artist, and being insecure. I mean, I didn't automatically, even though I had fun at the photo shoot, still this voice was like, what are you doing? And you look, I mean, you can imagine how goofy I looked. Banana. And I felt less than. I didn't have the confidence to say, no, I don't like that. No, this, no, that. And every day I had to go home. I had to pray, like, God, give me courage to say what I need to say, which has been a theme in my life, which is kind of funny because now I say what I need to say, and that's part of my job. I'm heard, and it's amazing. When we fight through our fears, we don't know where they're going to lead to. So I learned how to say, no, that doesn't work for me. Let's try this. Let's try that. And I had this little Southern girl mentality of, I don't want to bother anybody. She's going to think I'm a pain. Well, guess what? I'm paying the graphic artist, and this is my vision, and I have to speak it. I have to give my opinion. So it made me grow, right? Excuse me. So the graphic artist. So then during this time, I was like, oh, well, I guess I need to trademark this. So I had to get the legal team together. That was LegalZoom may have been around then, but I don't know. This was my heart and my baby, and I didn't know much about LegalZoom. So I had to meet with lawyers and tell them, I'm doing a book about how my dog is the perfect man. I'm sitting in this corporate law firm. And again, my little head was trying to tell me it's silly. But anyway, I got it trademarked and got the ISBN number. There's things that you have to do when publishing a book. And because Norman was 12, that was great incentive for me to just get started. I didn't want to live with the regret of not trying. And secondly, the self-publishing route, I knew as a nobody, I'm not going to get a publishing deal. I didn't want to spend time trying to get a publisher. So I self-published. And I help people with the self-publishing process. And that's a whole nother conversation, which we can't go into today. But so I got the legal team, got it trademarked. Then I realized, oh, I need a website. Y'all, I had a flip phone when I was doing this, and I was determined to keep my flip phone. Do you remember in 2011 when people just started texting and I did not, and you had to push like the one, a bunch of times, and I did not want emails on my phone. I remember saying, I don't want my emails on my phone. I don't want to have to learn a new phone. So this tells you like my technical skills at that time. But so a web designer, I had to meet with these web designers. All I knew is I wanted herringbone. I'm really detailed in the aesthetics, in the style. I have an eye. And I knew I wanted herringbone. We had to come up with the logo. And now it's funny because here I am. I want to show you what I'm doing all the time. Okay, it's kind of crazy. So had to get the social media on all platforms, had to get the website. I ended up working with 4 different photographers. Some of my little vignettes and one-liners did not work the first photo shoot. And I had to really, because there's some shots in this book that are like a double page spread, and one shot leads to the other shot. And, they've got to tell a story, and working with an animal is not like working with a human. So it was a lot of photo shoots. So ended up working with 4 photographers, and I decided to keep a little bit of each one's work in the book. I didn't want it to be just one photographer because each individual brought something to the project. Are we ready? You want to take a break, Wayne? Okay, we'll be right back. Thanks for listening. Hi, everybody. In love with these Asian-inspired pillows from Restoration Imports. Look at the colors. So in love. By the way, last week I did this. I cannot not karate chop a pillow. I want to know, do you like the karate chop or don't you? Okay, I want to talk about fighting fear. I want to talk about, okay, you know that I got the Fairmont San Francisco to do a tie-in with me. I was able to match my brand with their brand. I remember this moment. I needed to partner with this iconic store in San Francisco called Gump's. It's like a Tiffany's, but it was well known to San Francisco. And I wanted to be able to just have their permission to use all their shopping bags in this one vignette I had in my head. Y'all, I was in my room in San Francisco before my meeting with Gump's, which unfortunately is now gone out of business. But I was on my knees praying, God, please help me, give me the courage. And like when I look back at it, like this Laura would be like, hey, this is Laura Martella and I have an idea and blah, blah, blah. I was not that woman. And I was 11 years sober, but I didn't have the business experience that I have now. So I went to Gump's, met the marketing director. I walked out of that store. They had said, oh my God, yes, here's the bags. But do you want to film in the store? Like, use our store. We would love to partner with you. That was like such a victory. And it goes back to what I said. If you don't have the courage to ask, you can't have it. If you don't have the courage to ask, the answer is no. I'm so grateful that God helped me fight through the fear. And what are we afraid of? A no? We got to get used to being okay with a no. All right, so then I had another brand partner, Gump's. During this whole process, I can't go into the whole story, but you see how I'm saying when you take one step, then it leads to the next step. It reveals this one momentum moment will reveal the next momentum moment. There is a life coach that I adore that motivates me, and she calls them MOMO, momentum moments. So talk about the Momo walking out of that store. Guess what, y'all? I'm just going to cut to it because we're running out of time. The book ended up launching at Neiman Marcus. Yes, I created a brand on brand with Neiman Marcus. How about that? And I got Gentleman Norman on Good Morning America. We got a lot of publicity locally in San Diego, in California, in San Francisco. Gentleman Norman ended being on the cover of the holiday catalog for Gump's, which back in the day, people waited for that catalog. Gentleman Norman was also featured in the big Neiman Marcus catalog. We were invited to all kinds of charity events. But guess what else I did? And it worked. I reached out to the Alzheimer's Association in honor of my mom. And I got to donate proceeds to the Alzheimer's Foundation or Association, excuse me. And I ended up working with the New York Alzheimer's Association, and they produced a video called A Gentleman in New York. And the Huffington Post was at our event. I got to experience so many things because I listened to that nudge. And I always say, my dog changed my life because he was so cute, I couldn't ignore it, and I just had to try something. So fast forward even more. I was on book tour for 2 years, making appearances in Neiman Marcus, and we were in Saks and did a lot of really fun things, raising awareness for Alzheimer's. My book's dedicated to my parents. I'm standing there in these ladylike dresses, and God kept saying, Laura, there's more to this story. And I kept saying, if these people only knew where I come from. And the backstory, as you know, it's in the trailer to this podcast. That's the trailer to my film. Is how in the world does an alcoholic, bulimic woman end up publishing a book about style and manners? And my answer is it's the power of God's grace. So I checked with a couple of people that I really respected in sobriety because I had never talked publicly about my sobriety because it's sacred. I wouldn't use it to sell a book. But I prayed about it, and I decided to do a short film called If You Are Still Breathing, which is what I would say every single time I had to go back after I relapsed. And I would say, Laura, if you are still breathing, there's hope. So I ended up shooting this film, and it ended up being in some film festivals. I now use it as a trailer. I use the trailer at my speaking engagements as clean food expert. And we will never be able to, when we're in it, you can't connect the dots. But it's hindsight where you can see how one thing leads to another, leads to another. It's like and relying on God to lead us and just stepping out in courage. And we've all heard about Jesus parted the sea. But you know what? The sea did not part and then he put his foot in it. You put your foot in the water and then the sea parts. We have to take the step of faith. And if I can, I promise you, you can. Whatever that thing is, just start. And I so want to hear from you guys. Get in touch with me on Instagram. I want to know what you want to start. Or you can email me at info@lauramartella.com or through my website, cleanfoodexpert.com. I want to know personally what you need to start today, y'all. Who wants to spend a weekend with the Clean Food Expert? Go to cleanfoodexpert.com. A month of accountability. We talk about simple recipes, deciphering misleading food labels, boundaries with friends and family, dining and travel strategies. We figure out what's going to work for you. Okay, y'all, a couple of things. First and foremost, Gentleman Norman, How to Be a Man, is now sold at Restoration Imports here on St. Simon's Island. It is not available anywhere else because now we're just retired has-beens on the coast of Georgia. The website is no longer. I took it off Amazon because I'm not selling it now. But in honor of Gentleman Norman's 10-year birthday, they're carrying our book. Go get it. It will make you smile. Secondly, I'm going to end it with telling you how Gentleman Norman II came in to my life and how God's timing is perfect. I left you with talking about how I produced my documentary called If You Are Still Breathing. And I'm going to read you the film synopsis. And my director who did the film, he nailed it. In this chilling story of survival, famed author Laura Martella exposes her lifelong battle with alcoholism that started when she was a teenager in Georgia. After nearly a decade in and out of rehab facilities, Laura struggled to... Norman is snoring. Norman, so sorry. In such a serious, dramatic... After nearly a decade in and out of rehab facilities, Laura struggled to stick to a path that would set her life straight. It wasn't till a near-death experience that she checked herself into a no-excuse facility for 9 months and could finally start learning how to hold herself accountable, my word. Laura recaps her inspiring journey from the ground up. Here's the heart-melting part. And how a pedigree of Pomeranians played an imperative role on her road to recovery. Okay, this does make me cry. Can you hear him snoring, Wayne? I hope you all don't. I apologize if you do, but it's Norman and it's his birthday. All right, so Gentleman Norman I had to travel and I took real good care of him. He was on good medication. Every business person told me, you're going to need to get another dog because, there were 7 Lassies. And I remember saying, there is never going to be another Gentleman Norman. I actually did this book around this dog because he's so unusual. Finally, I said, all right, I'm going to get another one. And I did a little bit of research, not much. And I wanted to get a shelter dog. So don't judge me, you guys. But I needed to know the background because Gentleman Norman making appearances and having lots of crowds and lots of people, we could not risk Norman biting someone. So I was supposed to I had talked to a breeder and I was getting a dog that was a reject from the show ring because it wasn't perfect and she was willing to sell him as a pet. I could not sleep the night before and I ended up calling and saying, I'm so sorry, I'm just not going to go through with this. It doesn't feel right. So I realized I don't even want a new dog. That's why I didn't put so much in it. I love Norman. By this time, Norman was 14. And I prayed. I was like, I canceled my morning and I said, I'm going to spend time with God and just pray for him to lead me and guide my steps. And within 30 minutes, I found myself on the phone with a handler in Palm Desert. I lived in Beverly Hills at the time. And she said, "Oh my God, I follow Gentleman Norman and I love what you're doing." And she said, "You know what? Let me just call this breeder that I know on the East Coast and just see if she's got any puppies." Because it was really hard to find a fox-colored Pomeranian with the white, with the same nose. Because some of them have like a fox nose and some of them have like a teddy bear face. She called me back in 5 minutes and she said, "I believe in fate. This woman has a 7-month-old male, Norman's colors, and she's willing to sell him as a pet because he was born with one testicle. And so that meant she couldn't show him. And apparently sometimes the testicle will drop and then they can show. But she said she was willing to sell him as a pet. All right, y'all. I was really excited about, and Gentleman Norman was posting to all his followers. He had a lot of followers at one time. About Gentleman Norman is going to have a protege and he's flying in tonight. And so I go to LAX and I pick up this little puppy, 7 months old. So cute. Bring him back home and he met Norman. And our first day we were just taking all kinds of pictures and just I was actually excited that Gentleman Norman could train the new Norman. Y'all, Norman passed away the next day. And it goes to this, what my vet, I'll tell you this story, it's in my film, but my first Pomeranian, Walter, was had to live through the hell with me of my drinking days. And then after I celebrated my first year of sobriety, my Walter got really sick and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with him. And I had to make the difficult decision to let him go. And I was crying. My husband was out of town. And I remember telling that vet, "I am a recovering alcoholic, and this dog has been through hell with me." And that vet said to me, "One thing I know about dogs, they never leave before their work is through." And she said, "He knows that you're going to be okay. He's your angel." And that has always stuck with me. So all you dog lovers, I mean, we know they don't live as long as us. It's just the saddest thing. But they know when you're going to be okay, when they get to go. And it just fast forward, Walter was my first Pomeranian. And then look how Gentleman Norman the first waited until new Norman flew in. I can't believe it. And I don't think there's any coincidence that dog is God backwards. I mean, I think dogs are a gift from God. I mean, I can't imagine a life without our dogs. So, it all goes to me. God's timing is always perfect. And we don't know what's going on. But what we can do is we have the power to just take action. Faith without works is dead. So think about it and think about what you need to start today. Hi, everybody. In love with these Asian-inspired pillows from Restoration Imports. Look at the colors. So in love. By the way, last week I did this. I cannot not karate chop a pillow. I want to know, do you like the karate chop or don't you?